Yeah, boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's up, everybody? It's another great stream. What's going on? It's another podcast, Fat Jesus Live. And guess what? We have an amazing banger today for you guys. Rebirth of the Word. And this is Michelle.
Hello.
If you guys know her, she is amazing. She's our guest for today. Welcome. And we're going to be talking about Tridactyls. Three fingers.
Yep. So this is actually pretty a very unique conversation because Miss Anthrope or Michelle, I'm going to say either one just because she said either one because my mind's going to work that way. I recently met Fat Jesus and at Casas about 3 or 4 months ago, 5 months ago. And I've been joining their Tridactyls thing because the Nazca mummies and Tridactyls things has been a big thing. I mean, it's been all over the place, right? And for years too, at that. And Michelle here is actually, can you tell me the title of what you've done for 25 years? Hold on, let me say this one more time. 25 years. This is not 5 years.
That's
here.
a long time.
This is not 10 here, 10 there. It's not 15 here. It's
what
not
made
even
you
18.
Want to do that for
this
that long?
20.
Didn't you want to do some gardening or frolicking in the streets or people watching or something? But 25 years of one thing. What is this?
Yeah, dedication. I'm a radiologic technologist, so that's been what my focus of work has been for pretty much my entire adult life. Yeah, so I started out at a level 2 trauma center, and we dealt with mostly motorcycle trauma and real intense stuff like that. And I've worked in a couple different places in the country doing different things, but I really like emergency medicine, and we're a big part of that. So I guess I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. So that's why, you get into it and you're like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you so much for saving so many people's lives. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that owe it to you.
Yes, I would agree.
You just went straight into it, man. What are you? You're in a hurry? You got to go pick up somebody? What the heck?
Our ER team, ER nurses. I got to give a shout out to the ER nurses, because really those people that work emergency medicine like that, you got to be cut from special cloth to be able to do that every day. So, we form teams and we work as a team, and that's what we try to do, is save people. Yeah.
You just popped up. You popped up with a picture over here.
I did that. Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
Now, is this a tridactyl or a four-dractyl?
Now, this is why I bring this. This is why I have.
This looks like
picture.
4 fingers, not 3 fingers.
This is a reason why I brought it up, because, first I gotta say, thanks for all what you do, Michelle, and saving lives and stuff like that. That's important. Like I was telling you, I was in the military. I got wounded. I actually had my life saved out there in Afghanistan. So, thank you for all you do,
Absolutely.
So, but while you was talking, of course, I brought this up. We're going to be talking about Tridactyls, and I've been hearing so many things about it. I'm so confused about it. One minute I hear that they have 3 fingers. Then I hear that they had a finger cut off or something like this. Then I hear these ancient texts that say they actually had 3 fingers. And then you hear these things where a thumb is not really a finger, so it is a tridactyl because it's a 3 finger. And then it's all, everybody has these words. I've actually done a lot of research behind the Tridactyls, and I looked at your page, and like I said, I met Fat Jesus and Ed Casas about this, and Ed Casas has his ideas and his theories, and he talks about it repeatedly about what his ideas and theories are, and he's very firm on what he believes, and that's fine. I can't take that away from him. I am not an anthropologist, and I'm nowhere near in this field. Matter of fact, I don't even have a college degree. I just follow what you guys say and make my little decision in the middle, so that way, I have the opportunity to ask both you guys a question. So that's why I'm glad to be able to speak to you today. I would like to know, like, what's one thing that, let's just get straight to it. Do you think all of them are fake, or do you think some are fake and which ones aren't? And then based off what your evidence says as an expertise at 25 years, not 5, 10, or 18 or 19 years, 25 years of experience.
So the first thing that was evident to me was the amputations in the feet, and the misalignment or malalignment of the metatarsals in the foot. And in the dicoms that are available, that's consistent from each mummy, from one to the next.
Mhm.
So what it looks like is that they're human bodies, but they've had modifications to their hands, modifications
Yeah.
to their feet. Um, and what we ended up finding was that across the collection, from the flagship mummy to, some of the newer mummies, Maria was kind of more, and I hate to use this word, sloppy. And
Mhm.
then Montserrat, they kind of refined the technique a little bit so that when you're looking at it from the outside, or looking at it just from some of the imaging provided, like on tridactyls.org, or Harry or Thierry Hymene's site, you don't see that as easily as you would in some of the older mummies. But for all of them, it was true that we could see those types of amputations in the feet and in hands.
Mm.
So that was really the first thing that jumped out at me, looking through those images when I finally looked at the dicoms, was that, wow, these feet have been manipulated. So, when you're taking in a specimen like that, if you know that it's been manipulated, then it kind of makes you go, well, then why would someone do that?
Mm.
Um, what are they trying to accomplish by doing that?
Mhm.
Uh, and then what does that mean for the validity of the collection?
That's fair enough, and that's why I said, and I'm glad that Fat Jesus has said, why does it have four, and what is wrong with the feet? Because that's the same thing that I've heard through my research. Even if you even follow tridactyls.org, they have their pictures, and then you have other people have their pictures, and they have their theories based off those pictures. But when it comes up to what people are saying on how these hands and feet came to be, they all say they might have been modified.
Yeah.
So, and that's a good question. Why would they do that? I mean, Fat Jesus, what do you think about that?
Well, there are some people that have communicated about some of the tridactyls, and from the beginning, they were saying that tridactyls is just they're just starting off. That tridactyls been going on for some people are saying that tridactyls been going on for what like 8 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's not, but still, it's still in its infancy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just one tridactyl. It's not just one mummy. It's a lot of mummies. It's not just, it's not like you just found one Bigfoot. It's not just one anomaly. It's a multitude of anomalies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like the boogosphere. You just find one, and then all of a sudden it just becomes this whole thing. Supposedly there's more than one boogosphere, I guess. I don't know. But the thing is, I haven't been keeping up with that. But the thing is, with this, um, I think we have to wait and see long. We have to wait longer, like the Paracas skulls. I use the Paracas skulls as an example because we're talking about over 100 years of studies on the Paracas skulls, which are from 1800s, even longer than that. There's people that been studying elongated heads all over the earth for thousands of years. They've been talking about them, Roman times, things like that. But in Peru, they've been studying them at the universities for 100 years or more. So with the tridactyls, with the three fingers, three toes, um, this has just been a recent discovery, and it's just not enough universities to get in there and just put a lot of information into it. All we have is just the information that we're receiving from the university, from Ica, the Ica University, and then we have Reuters that just came out talking about these dolls that they got, and that was just the two dolls. But overall, the ones that they had at the University of Ica, supposedly these are all real tridactyls. These are real mummies. The ones that she's talking about, Maria and those right there, um, these mummies they come out of diatomaceous earth, and they're like really dried up, like um they're very delicate, super lightweight. I don't know what the process is, honestly. That's a that I don't know how long it takes to for a human being to dry up that long or to become a mummy from diatomaceous earth.
Yeah, well, no, that's a good question to ask Michelle. Like, what from your expertise, because you know about bones. I mean, obviously, you study that, you know about it. That's your expertise, right? Expertise, right? So, can you explain that?
So, mummy studies is really interesting. It's a pretty broad subject just because so many different cultures around the world practice mummification in different ways. Peru is unique because that area of Peru is super arid. The combination of some of the metals and salts in the earth and the diatomaceous earth,
It's a
you
desert, right?
correct. So, like, if you were to take a human body today and take it out and bury it in the ground out somewhere in that part of Peru, it might take 30 to 45 days for that body to totally dry out and dehydrate. So, which is actually very fast. So, one thing we kind of wondered, because if you know the history there, the looting is extremely prevalent, and it's been prevalent there for a long time. So some of those bundles, like some of the earlier mummies from the collection, we think came from intact bundles that were found there. And then as more specimens came out, we started seeing evidence that maybe they were more contemporary bodies that had been found, but I don't think they all came from the same place. But as far as the desiccation that happens, the drying out, the breaking apart of tissues and stuff in that kind of environment, it does not take long.
So it would
So,
almost look like the
for
melting
a
effect, then, right?
for a second here, let's just go straight to the looters. Proof is in the pudding and the looters. When you think about it, they released the looters. Like they captured the looter, like one of the main looters, like the kingpin of looters, right? I forget his name. I'm not going to even advertise him, really, but you know who I'm talking about. They captured him, they put him in jail, and all of a sudden they release him. You know, like that's like a national thing. Like that's like federal in Peru. Like you go to jail and you go to jail for life for looting. If any of us did that stuff, we'd probably still be in jail, right? I would assume. But this guy, they released him. So when you think about it, what if he didn't have anything substantial? Like it wasn't even real. Like the stuff that he had wasn't even real. Like it backs up what you say is not a real thing, and that's why they released him. It's fake, you know, and they just go, oh, we have nothing to hold him for, so just release him. You ever thought about that?
Yeah, and with that situation, we came across reports that there's corruption within the court system there. And there's you got to kind of zoom out to really understand why that kind of stuff would happen there. The Nazca mummies as a whole would bring tourism to Peru, and that's true. There's even some public officials. I came across an article when we were working on this project about where one of the politicians there even said out loud, he's like, I don't really feel one way about the mummies one way or the other, but it'll be good for tourism. So there were some questions there about if money changed hands with the judge, or if there was some kind of, corruption.
I mean, he does make a lot of money, though. The looter does make a good amount of money with these millionaires buying stuff from him.
I mean, the black antiquities market globally is only second to the drug market, and in Peru in particular.
Heard that, everybody.
Yeah, in particular, in Peru in particular, like even the mining, most of the mining done in Peru it's like a 50-50 split. Half of the mining is actually done by illegal operations, and the other half is controlled by governmental entities. So there is a huge black market already in existence within Peru for the precursor chemicals to mine and for other things to trade hands there that are outside the purview of the Peruvian government. So when you step back and you look at that, and you kind of try to understand that, like, this is an area rife for black market and antiquities or black market activity, and you kind of zoom out on that, it brings in that understanding that there's a lot of money changing hands, that keeps this kind of stuff going, or that gives people motivation to keep this stuff going.
You know what? It's so funny because I was just telling my wife this. Like, I'm not even going to joke. I'm going to say it live, right? If I was a billionaire, I would definitely do something like that. Like, I just would be like, yo, how bad can I mess with people right now for entertainment wise? Like, I don't like to watch TV. You know what I'm saying? So how can I fool people, with something? So I'll go plant some stuff out there and then see how crazy some people will go. I got $1 billion. What am I going to do? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm helping people in the same time, but I still need some type of entertainment. And you just see the whole world just, catch on fire because they feel like they found something,
Yeah,
right.
That's every day. That's every day.
But no, just think about it.
And all of a sudden, it's Starlink in the sky. Oh, look what I found! I'm like, that's Starlink.
Yeah, I'm serious. I really feel like because it's money, it will generate more money. You know what I'm saying? It brings more entertainment because some people will trademark the words. They trademark the words. They trademark the insignias and all this other stuff that goes with it. And every time somebody talks about it, boom, there's money in their pocket. So now they created, more money for themselves off of a hoax. And that's very easy to do when you have plenty of money to spend to do something like that.
We also have to think about the other elephant in the room. If this was really a hoax, how much control would they actually have if it was? I mean, it's a big, huge market, honestly. Like, you can't really control such a massive hoax in a way. Like, people would fly in
with the money. Yeah, you can't, man. With
but
money,
if I flew in like right today, I rent out my own scooter and I drive anywhere I want. I don't let people lead me anywhere in a country. I know where to go, what to do. I mean, whenever I travel on my own. I don't let tourism. I don't buy touristy tickets. I don't do any of that stuff. But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe people like to be led on a leash and be shown something. And that this right here is, this was made by Zeus, and it was struck by lightning 3 times and it's magical,
Right.
I don't believe any of that stuff. I mean, I'm not that easy, Maybe there are people in this world that they enjoy the fantasy. They love Harry Potter. They want to get in through a storybook and they want to travel and just get enthralled by some kind of story adventure of Peter Pan or something.
Me, it's not that I believe in the Tridactyl. I just want to know what the evidence say. That's for me. Because like I said, Ed is he's an anthropologist, so he has his expertise in that field. I can't deny his. But then you have your expertise.
Well, actually, Ed Casa is an archaeologist. That's what
archaeologist. I'm sorry, you're the anthropologist. You changed it.
He graduated as an archaeologist from the
from
college that he was in.
Archaeologist.
South Florida.
Yeah, so
I'm an anthropologist. I'm in social sciences.
Yeah, I see that. I just noticed that you changed it. That's why I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember seeing that. So yeah, it used to say anthropologist. That's why I got archaeologist.
I did that on purpose just to confuse you today, buddy.
But Ed is he's an archaeologist. So I'm
mostly an entertainer.
You know what? I never asked him this. Has he ever participated, Fat Jesus? Do you know in digging up these?
Yes.
So
Yes,
so
I
he
was in South Florida, and I seen him participate with other archaeologists, renowned archaeologists, which now today they don't even want to connect with him when he got connected with Tridactyls, because Tridactyls is too far apart from the norms of archaeology.
so he
So
was with the archaeology team that
yeah.
dug up these.
Yeah,
Okay, so he was there.
actually with a team that was digging up mammoths and
Mhm.
other actually there was like a unknown tribe that
Mhm.
he was digging up and all that stuff. It
Yeah.
was pretty cool, but he wasn't the lead archaeologist. He was just assistant archaeologist, because
Okay.
it takes a long time to be part of to be a lead archaeologist. The university, they submit the money and all that stuff. It's just a lot of
Okay.
things you have to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, even being an assistant archaeologist and being attached to somebody is a huge thing. It's
Mhm.
really amazing.
Yeah. No doubt.
And
No
to be
doubt. Yeah.
part and discovering stuff, your name is attached to the discovery and all that stuff, and it's enjoyable. But once he he was separated from. He tried to get other people to connect with him with this, and to peer review with the Tridactyls.
That's what I was going to get into next.
When Reuters came out with the article with the two fake dolls, which were really fake dolls, those are actual fake dolls that were made by an artist. Um, then that Reuters report really, threw the whole thing out of whack. And then, and those had nothing to do with the mummies in in Ica at the college,
Mhm.
or the university at Ica. So the 13 that they have in Ica are supposedly are the real deal. Those are the real deal mummies. And those are the ones they have those in lock and key. Those are the ones that are studied upon DNA wise. They do so much with it. But Miss Anthrop says these are humans that have been
Modified.
that were modified.
Yeah.
I have communicated with some people. They say they were modified a long time ago. Like we're talking about 1,000 years ago, not like modern times. Miss Anthrop says, and I've communicated with her in the
Is it
past, that
Anthrop or Anthropy? I thought it was Anthropy.
Anthrope,
entropy.
like it's kind of the play on
Yeah,
words.
Anthropy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Just making sure.
And I apologize for bringing up the name without your permission.
I had already did it. I already
let
had
the,
did
let the
it.
bag out of the let the cat out of the bag. Meow.
you're totally
And I tell you what, we've been back and forth on this, and 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 I have friended her because I communicated with her, and I say that they're not modernly, they were not modernly changed. They were changed a long time ago, and then they became mummies. I don't know where the proof lies on all of this. Uh, Maybe she could explain further more on this.
so usually when you amputate tissues, like say if they were to have a person, that body had just passed away
Mhm.
and they decided to manipulate it right after death, post-mortem.
Yeah.
Because your tissues still have moisture, things like the plantar fascia, which is
Easier. It's easier to amputate when it has moisture. It's still
what
how
happens
long?
if you cut fascia, because it's like a rubber band,
Mhm.
when the tissues are wet or still have moisture in them, they tend to retract. Like we'll see this in people that rupture their Achilles tendon, or if you've ever heard of somebody like breaking loose their bicep muscle or breaking loose one of their chest muscles, what'll happen is when it pulls away from the insertion point, and all the tendons and everything will pull it back. So what we didn't see in the feet of these mummies was that retraction of the plantar fascia. So when you look at those sagittal images, it actually, in a couple of them, hangs out of the foot, which tells you that those tissues had to be dry. They had to have lost their elasticity
Mhm.
before someone started cutting on them to modify them. So we
Is
went back. We went back.
Is it possible that they were born this way with that there's a possibility that there's a birth defect within the body that looks like they are missing a part of their body, and
Mm,
that's the way it looks like this? Has there been people? There are people that do have three fingers and are born with three fingers.
correct.
And are there pictures of people having these tendons in that form, even though it looks amputated in some way? Because obviously, and I'm looking at my hand right now, if I were to eliminate, of course, they would probably have a thumb. But let's say if they got rid of the thumb in the pinky, still I would have room for a pinky,
Hmm.
and I would have room for a thumb, and the bone right here. Obviously, this bone right here would still be in there because, of course, genetically, that is part of the genetics, right? Am I
Correct.
correct on this? I'm saying. So
Yes.
would it look like it would be amputated in some way? Not there's no cut like a cut, but it looks like the tendons would not be retracted. Is it possible? I'm just asking if it's possible. I'm not trying to say. I'm not trying to downplay you, but
Right.
is there a way we can compare with? There are people around the earth that actually have three fingers.
Correct. So you're
And
talking about like syndactyly or polydactyly. Those are genetic mutations that do show up in people where they can have some people can end up with six fingers, some people can end up with like a claw, where these two fingers will be fused, these two fingers will be fused, and they'll have a thumb. It has a couple different expressions, but one thing is true for us, for all mammals on this planet, all animals on this planet, that when our bones form, our articular surfaces form in complement to one another. So if
Mhm.
you have a genetic mutation that is only going to allow you to express three fingers, you're not going to just grow articular surfaces where a finger will not be. That articular surface wouldn't grow at all because you wouldn't have the genetics for it. So what Dr. Proctor saw in the hands was that, it looked like they had taken the pinky off here and taken the thumb off here, but yet you still had the articular surface where this bone articulated with the hand. So if it was truly a mutation, that articular surface shouldn't exist, and it suggests that there was a thumb there that articulated with that. So like when you look at patients with syndactyly, when you look at their x-rays, even though they're malformed, those bones have all grown in articulation to each other. So like you got your ball and joint sockets, and they will look like a glove. It will fit like a glove. And what was really obvious, especially on the feet, was that that did not happen. The metatarsals don't articulate with any articular surface. The bones don't even match the remainder of the bone in the body, meaning that they either came from a different individual, and we can tell that by the way those bones look on CT. So when you look at a CAT scan in bones that belong to all one body, the density tends to be the same. Those joints will look like they fit right together. There'll be no spaces. There'll be no extra articulations, and there's a real fluid movement from one bone to the next. And that was what was the big red flag with these mummies, was that
I'm
they were
sharing my screen so that you could have an example,
okay.
and it'll play real quick right here so that when you're talking.
Yep. So
Well,
Maria.
that's Maria. I can tell because I've looked at these so much. So what's interesting with her,
25 years worth, at least a similarity of some sort.
when you look at her
They
feet,
look so realistic, right? Like look at the three fingers and the three toes. It looks, that doesn't
yeah,
look human, doesn't it?
it does. That is definitely human. If you look at her feet, what's interesting about the images that they provide, so this is a 3D rendering. And what we do in CT is when we scan, we can scan in a volume. So once you acquire that volume of data, I can do all kinds of cool stuff with it. I can filter it. I can give it different densities. I can do all kinds of things with it. But the problem with 3D is it's not, the detail disappears. You don't have as much information as when you're looking at axial images or what they call multiplanar reconstructions, where you can move through the body from side to side or front to back. And it hides, these tend to hide a lot of those manipulations, or they make them look more congruent or more smooth. But even to my eye, looking at her feet, the amputation is right there in that midfoot, and then all of the phalange you see is reassembled from that point forward. So one thing Dr. Proctor and I jawed a lot about was, okay, just honoring the fact that, just pretending that these were not manipulated. The way that the bones articulated to the feet, or the way they wouldn't allow this entity to be able to walk. There is a law to biomechanics and how things have to articulate in order for someone to have a smooth gait and be able to ambulate. And none of these mummies would be able to walk or grasp. That was the other thing with the hand. If you're an advanced civilization and you only have 3 fingers but no thumb, that doesn't leave a lot of dexterity to be able to do things that demand those fine motor skills, like advanced dentistry, or, you know, some of the other claims that are made around these mummies. So unfortunately for Maria, like the second set of bones you're looking at right there, those are actually thumb bones, metacarpals, that they took from some.
May I bring up a hypothesis on
Sure.
what you were talking about with the walking, and before you move on forward? And some people may disagree, and others might want me to interject on it. But could you entertain this for a second? The possibility that these could be non-human, completely non-human. So instead of interpreting them closely related to humans, what if they're non-human completely as we speak? And I'm talking about, we're in 2026 now, and a lot of people are understanding what I'm trying to say. Is if they were like completely not related to us in any way, would they not be like different, completely different? They wouldn't relate any way, in any shape or form, to being any animals on Earth or any of us. And so we only have, what I'm trying to say, we only have the experience to us. Like our experience, our education is based on our bodies, our bones, our understanding of our unique perspective of what we are and what the animals that we studied. But this thing is completely different. And we're going to call it an artwork because it is completely different from all of us. Is it possible that this is completely alien to us, and we're going to make every possible decision to say this is just something someone put together and it's not real? Is that possible?
Before you answer that, this is a perfect, because you actually brought this up earlier, Michelle, and I was holding, this is a perfect time for me to bring it up. When I said earlier that I like to go to the meaning of words, the origins of words, to understand what people are saying, I always ask, what is your meaning of this? So both of you guys already used the word alien. I know what it means when I go to the etymological dictionary and find the origin of it. I understand what alien means. But I also understand what extraterrestrial means, because Fat Jesus had brought that up too, extraterrestrial. So I go off of what those words for. So first, let me ask you, what is your meaning of alien, and what is your understanding of alien?
So to me, alien would be anything that doesn't share any genetic material with us. Is what I
so foreign, basically.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so anything that is foreign to us basically is what you would consider alien, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I respect that because that's what it means in etymology. So, Fat Jesus, what is your meaning of alien?
Alien? Anyone that comes over the border without ID? Just kidding. Comes from another planet? No. Needs to get a passport? No, to me, extraterrestrial.
Extraterrestrial. So,
To me, alien is I mean, there's a separation. So the word alien, that's one terminology. Then we have to separate the terminology. It's extraterrestrial ETs, or from outer space, or from a parallel universe.
okay. So,
They're not from our universe. They come from a parallel universe or
okay.
something like
So
it.
this is a good learning part right here. So I'm agree that alien is foreign, but extraterrestrial is actually anything that's outside of Earth's atmosphere. Alien can can be an alien here on planet Earth and not an extraterrestrial. An extraterrestrial will be an alien because it's foreign to us.
So is a giant alien to us? Like a giant? We never seen a giant.
Well,
Like
it depends
13
what you
foot
consider a giant.
human.
Something that
13,
hasn't
13,
been
14-foot giant. Like
that
a
would
human.
that would be
Like its
alien to us.
existence
Yeah.
would
But
be
see,
alien, right?
this is another
Or a
question. What
fairy
makes
that is like this tiny flying
yeah, that
around.
would
Looks
be
like it
it.
looks
It's
human looking.
yeah, and
Right.
and I'm glad you used that word next. The next understanding, because Michelle says that these are humans, and you say, Fat Jesus, that they're not humans, right? So, and I know Ed says they're not humans, and so I would say I actually wrote a book, Journey Through the Origins of History, and it actually became a bestseller on Amazon. And one of the things that I wrote in there was about what is
Go
human.
ahead, Soundberry. Ask a question.
What is
Keep going.
a human? Like, what's a human species, right? Because when we go to what you talked about, walking, well, I know from my studies that Australopithecus afarensis and Australopithecus ramidus are two species that are considered what practice bipedalism. There are two different species that came at two different times. The ramidus came before the afarensis. That's where we get Lucy from. But it looks at the bipedalism. Look at the ramidus as the earliest kind of where they see the modification at, and then the afarensis with Lucy is where they see it being used more to get about, and they call that bipedalism, and that's the beginning of stages of human. At least that's what I've learned from taking anthropology classes, reading books from anthropologists, and so on and so forth, and different individuals. So a human to me anatomically is something that has a head, two arms, two legs, torso, fingers, and toes. Now, how many fingers and toes you want to go with that depends. You know what I mean? Because we do have texts out there with 6 fingers, and like you said, the webs, like that's where you get the tridactyls from. You get 1, 2, and 3. You get that if you get it fused and stuff like that, which this would make an easy way to grab something if needed to be. But if you have this, then no, that wouldn't be. And just like you said, in advanced civilization, it would be hard to do things without a thumb, right? That's why they also talk about
I found that kind of wild, because with 3 fingers, it's hard to grab something. I mean, for me, I mean, I know birds have talons and they do really well. Like, you ever see a crow? They do so well in grabbing something, and they got they use their talons as like tools. You ever seen that in their mouth?
Yeah.
They have their beaks, and they do so well with just the three, and it's just wild. And you can imagine how 3 fingers and 3 toes, maybe they used all their and this is me imagining this all being real, how 3 toes and 3 fingers would be working all at the same time. Although some people have imagined that,
but they didn't have a beak, so this is the thing.
No, they didn't.
Like,
they didn't have beaks, but they were saying that they also had webbed like the possibility that they have like a web web feet and web hands, but the web part disintegrated throughout time. Is that even possible? I don't know. I mean, I'm not the expert here. Some people
You know what? Matter of
were
fact, we got to
mentioning
get
that.
back to that question that you asked her about, the first question before I interrupted. Do you remember what it was?
Go for it.
Okay, it was when he was talking about the different studies, and what did you say? You said you wanted to make sure, oh man, it just slipped my head, because this conversation can go so
Go
many
any
different ways.
direction.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
come back to me, and we'll get back to it. But the idea for humans, humans aren't the only animals that practice bipedalism. So I always thought more of it being more conscious, be our mind. The way we can use our mind in our bodies. Can a bird create the technology we have if they had our type of mindset? Probably more than likely not, because of the simple fact that they don't have the tools that we have. The same thing with dolphins. They say dolphins are very intelligent mammals, right? More intelligent than us. They have 2 brains, right? And they don't have the technology and stuff that we have. So we have a happy balance between us, And I think our technology is what helps us with our lifestyles, and of course. But when it comes to these tridactyls, an advanced civilization, that's why I always wonder, like, some people say they're extraterrestrials, and I'm like, how can they be so extraterrestrial if they don't have the necessities to be one, and if they are, so why are they buried the way they are? That's a savage way to leave a body, you know what I mean, whether you believe it's just a vessel or not.
But how do you
And so,
know it's savage, though?
well,
I mean,
I mean,
it
look,
might be savage to you.
with just throwing somebody in the dirt like that and just leaving them there and not
Maybe that's the
having
best way. There's people right now that think that burying your loved ones with a tree sap on you is the best way to leave your
okay,
loved
but
ones, to
now
use your body to decompose, to
let's
Well,
make
look
a
at it like
tree.
this.
but
Okay, go ahead.
but the mummy bundles, they aren't just thrown in the dirt. I mean, they are layered in cloth and wrapped,
Okay, see,
and
yeah, see,
actually, and when they buried them, it's very fascinating.
I didn't hear that before.
So they would dig like a
There's
giant
artifacts.
hole in the ground, and
Mhm.
then basically they would prepare the body kind of in that seated, this position,
Mm.
and they would encase them in fabric and wrap them in like animal skins, and usually adorn them with jewelry, really beautiful
Jewelry?
burial
How
stuffs.
they
Yeah.
gonna show that stuff?
Oh,
Well,
because the looters take all that shit. That's
Oh,
why.
oh,
so like, they actually there are a couple museums that actually have Paracas bundles that have never been opened, that are
mm.
they have shelves of just these funerary bundles, waiting to be opened. And every now and then I think they do that to like help train archaeologists, like, here's how you would handle
Oh,
this
yeah.
kind of relic, and here's how you unwrap it. But they would bury them in groups. So you would open up a chamber and there might be, 5 or 6 or 7 of these bundles with these mummies in this seated position. And that's how the looters were finding them. So like when Raoul Bilecki went down and took a look at everything, and so did Will, you would walk as far as you could see. There would be holes, and there would be evidence of them opening these funerary bundles, and the fabric would be laying around. There would be scattered bones and body parts everywhere, some skulls just sitting on the ground. So it there was a process in how they handled those. And when we look at Maria or we look at Montserrat, they are in that traditional position of a Paracas mummy, arms around the knees to the chest, as is most of these mummies that we see. I don't think I've seen anyone that's not in that posture. So there was some
You just plugged in Will. What's his name? Will
Brown. Will
Will
Brown.
Brown. Will Brown. What's his podcast? I mean, what's his website?
So he was Incredible History. He was who reached out to me when I had gotten access to the DICOMs, and in December. and he had been to Peru. Will was actually at the conference that got rated by the Ministry of Culture, and spoke with Jaime Maussan, and had spent probably about a solid year investigating these mummies on his own. So Will had a lot sunk into this, and he had met Raul, and Raul and him together kind of
that's the looter, Raul.
No, Raul, unfortunately, Raul is in jail right now for some very unfortunate things that happened to him, but he ran Pillars of the Past. He was on Rogan back
in
February. But the work that
Raul, man, that's horrifying. Yeah, I wonder what's going.
He's never going to get out of jail. I don't think he's ever getting out of jail. But the work that he did, it doesn't void the work that he did. And what he found when he went down there was just catastrophic. I mean, bones scattered as far as you could.
I was going to say that he had a video of bones being scattered everywhere, right?
It was incredible, and he got to talk to some of these Jacueros one-on-one. And the general consensus was that, they are scouted to go and find these bundles if they can, and they get more money for
Soundberry. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. They do get, they get more money for the intact bundles. And then when those run out, that's where I think we start seeing mummies like Antonio, where there's a very strong chance that he is actually a contemporary body. Where he came from is up for debate, but there's a lot of questions around that as far as where some of these funerary bundles came from. But there's a huge market there. Again, I mean, these guys are getting paid incredible money to go and do this, to go and find these things and turn them around into this product.
Are you open to questions from people from the crowd right now?
Sure, absolutely.
Soundberry was asking. He was asking a little earlier. What was the question there?
Yeah, I got it right here. And I wanted to ask you real quick when we go over this. So do you believe some of them are real and some of them are fake, right? Obviously, right?
I don't believe any of them are. I believe all of them are human remains that have been mutilated.
Okay. So real human, the real word was real human remains modified. Okay,
Modified.
So that doesn't take away anything right there from what you said. You're just saying real humans modified.
Correct.
I like that because you're not taking away the fact that you're not saying they're fake, because then you would say they're fake humans.
Well, people get hung on that vernacular.
Yes, that's why I said you got to learn to understand what people are saying.
Assemble something's like it didn't assemble anything. They had an intact human body that they then butchered to perpetuate this hoax.
Yeah, so you're not even arguing the fact that they may just be foreign alien to us. You're just saying, look, they're modified and they're humans and they could be foreign to us, meaning not because you said they don't share genetic DNA with us, right?
Well, the DNA is a different story. The DNA that was already done, and ancient DNA is very hard to do. The results that are out there already, if you understand what you're looking at, and it takes a lot, and I still don't have a full grasp on it. Dr. Wilson actually is probably better to talk to about this, but really what the results showed was that the samples were highly contaminated. So a lot of the things that they were saying were alien or not human was really more a marker of how contaminated those samples were. Mm-hmm. And when you looked at what they were able to pull from those genetic samples, it falls right in line as far as percentage of human, because they played on that a lot, is right in line with other genetic testing done on other mummies from other areas. Ancient mummies, DNA degrades, it fragments. So when they do those types of testing, a lot of that stuff that comes back is unknown, is really simply DNA that has degraded to a point that they cannot reassemble it. So it comes across that as information that is unknown, when in reality it's just too damaged to reassemble. So
I
You
learned
know,
that from 23 and me.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's intense. It's really intense when you get into the depths of what exactly happened with these. And now we have concerns, Dr. Wilson and I, about the Russian study in the cadmium chloride, and what those ramifications are going to be, going forward, because there's some question if, they were bathed in that. That is a
Mm.
super highly carcinogenic chemical.
Mhm.
So anybody that's had prolonged contact to these mummies, especially without the appropriate PPE, and you would need like a papper hood, like full hazmat gear to handle these mummies to be protected. Anybody that's had prolonged contact have the potential to be very sick, or even die from cancers that could cause. So there's actually a human health issue around these mummies too, and the fact that they haven't been studied in depth like they really need to be, where it could go beyond, just this, well, it was a mutilated human body and that's terrible, but no, everybody that's had contact with them could also be at high risk for cancers now, or kidney
Mhm.
failure, other things, because they've been exposed to the cadmium chloride.
That's
Like,
crazy.
it's scary. It's not, it's been turned into a as with most things in the UFOlogy sphere, has been turned into a circus.
Yeah.
And the sad part is that the repercussions that come from that, are that, you've got people like Ross Coulthart, Jesse Michaels, that have went and spent prolonged time in the presence of these mummies. And was it even safe for them to do that?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. That's crazy.
How about the
That's-
DNA results? Did you look into that?
We did. We looked at that. And like I said, what it came down to is that they used the DNA report and the fact that so much of the DNA was unknown because the samples were so contaminated, to paint a picture that, these were not human, when in reality, what those results really showed was that the samples that they provided were so incredibly contaminated, way beyond, what they would expect to see in a sample from a mummy like that. And they use that to paint them as some type of alien creature, when in reality, it just is a testament to how crappy the collection of samples were that they used to do that DNA testing. So it's going to be really—
If they were contaminated, would they not say they were contaminated, and the results were not come out that way?
Oh, it comes across as, so like, you got to think, when they collect samples like that, you really should be wearing protective clothing. So anybody that got near them,
Mhm.
breathed on them, shed skin cells on them, touched
Mhm.
them, if
Yeah.
they were protected, all
It-
settled on the mummies. So now when you're drilling down and taking a core from that mummy, or taking a
Yep.
tissue sample from that mummy,
Yep.
every single person that's breathed on it, touched
Yep.
it, shed
Cough.
skin cells on it, is going to be adding to the
Yep.
contamination.
I learned that reading this one book, that it's very important to, when you dig something up, to seal it immediately, because as
Yes,
soon as the moment it is hitting the oxygen air that you're breathing right now, the contamination begins. And the
correct.
longer it's in the air, the more contamination it is. And you can see right now, they're still not wearing the proper gear when they're around it. So that's
Yep.
just adding more to it. And I actually read that in the book and I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. And they said the reason why is because they get it surface level. That's
Right.
why. They get all the samples from the surface. They don't, in digging into it, they can't dig into it and get the surface. They have to get it off the surface level, because that's the surface that it actually was covered up in.
Right. So if
And
you think about the diatomaceous earth, right, that's a very absorbent material.
Mhm.
Very dry. It's going to pull moisture in.
Yep.
So if someone, that's why, you need an N95 or a PAP or something that fits tight to the face, that where you're not going to have your expiratory breaths.
Yeah, that's the stuff that kills bugs, right?
Yeah, actually, yes, you can sprinkle diatomaceous earth in your garden, and
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That stuff is very cancerous. Like, that's why I was always wondering, like, how are they so
I mean,
open?
it's safe for humans, around
Yeah.
No,
humans.
it's not really, is it?
Yes,
Yeah, it
diatomaceous
is.
earth is safe. All it is the crushed
Safe.
carrot of like, it's like shell, very fine seashell powder is basically what that is.
That's why I buy
I
it.
thought it just
I
tore
buy
up
I
your
buy it for the
lungs.
cats and the dogs around my yard, because I use it to kill off whatever, because all the pesticide is bad, for my dogs and cats. And
I
so
always thought it dried out your
I
lungs.
put it in the backyard so I could kill off whatever it is. It's actually better to have the diatomaceous earth for your garden than to have all that pesticides that you pour all over the damn place. So
now, yes, it wouldn't be good to breathe in.
Yeah, that's what I
Diatomaceous.
was saying. Yeah,
yeah.
breathing in. Yeah, that's what I
Well,
thought.
yeah. I mean, nothing is good to breathe in.
No,
Even
that's
cat litter.
I was
You don't want to breathe
specifically
in
talking
cat
about.
litter.
Yeah, I was
Right.
specifically talking about breathing in because
People are like,
uh,
you shouldn't have the N99 mask, man. You're so weird. Well, I have the N99 mask, so I don't have to breathe in the cat litter.
But the cadmium chloride, so the Russians, Korokov, when he did a sample for Maria, he said that her skin was coated with cadmium chloride and then a layer of diatomaceous earth over top of that. The problem with that is, we got some numbers. Dr. Wilson has been talking to some people behind the scenes that have some information about that testing, and he gave me some numbers, and we've been crunching the numbers, and the exposure rate for people, if the Russians were right, is like, it was crazy. It was like 17 times the normal, what they would recommend, what OSHA would recommend here in the United States. So my concern with this collection going forward, people are free to believe what they want to believe, but I think that needs to be addressed. And they need to test all of these mummies for the presence of cadmium chloride, because if that's the case, it is a huge health hazard. And anybody that's had prolonged exposure, including the scientists at ICA, Jamie Masson himself. I mean, there's a lot of people that have been in the presence of these mummies without the appropriate PPE that could end up dead from being exposed. So it's gotten to the point for us where, like, at the beginning, it was dark. Everything we've uncovered as far as these are.
So basically, people are getting high off of the aliens. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, the cadmium chloride.
I mean, you got to be careful what you say, because people that love getting high, they're going to be like, hell yeah, we're going to go down to Peru and get high off of aliens.
Oh, you'll get cancer. You'll end up with cancer or kidney failure. You're not going to
get. They're getting cancer and kidney failure as we speak.
Yeah.
People are chasing that. They're chasing that smoke.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's very important, because people's health is important. So if you really want to get the truth,
it is important. Yeah.
At the same
Some people
time.
don't care. There's people out there that don't. If they cared, they wouldn't be dying. Right. Yeah. I'm telling the truth. Right. I mean, you're a nurse. You wouldn't have a job.
She ain't a nurse. She's not a nurse. Don't downgrade her expertise.
She is. Aren't you not a nurse? I mean, that's the nursing field, isn't it?
No. Don't even do that. Don't even do that.
Isn't that like?
No. Stop.
Isn't that like a subfield?
No, stop. Stop the question. Not even close. Not even close.
Went to a registered nurse, but our area of expertise is medical imaging. So if you were to look at us, we would be considered equals in although some nurses would probably disagree. We have the same amount of training as a registered nurse, but we are not within the nursing field.
Yeah,
no.
That's not the nursing field. Yeah, that's totally different field. But
she had to go through medical school just like everybody else.
That's not a nurse, though. That's like saying a doctor's a nurse. But anyway,
she had to go through the grueling task. It's just it's not easy, man. The school is not easy. It's hard.
But I wanted to get to the question that Sunderberry was talking about. What if because you was talking about genetics and stuff like that. What if they are genetically engineered being spun up on the equivalent of CRISPR looms? I don't even know what that is, honestly. But which
do you understand what he's asking?
No, that's what I said. I don't know. You know what that is?
I don't think that they are genetically engineered beings. I think they're human beings that have been butchered, and that's really what it comes down to. I mean, everybody's going to have their own take or hope or wishes for these, and I wanted them to be real too. I mean, from the outset, how long
how long did you believe that they were possibly real? How long did it take you to
So
change your mind? How many years or how many
And
months
keep
or
in mind, this is 25 years of experience that's speaking right here. This is not 5 years, 10 years,
we
or
already know
18
that.
years.
Let her
This
answer
is
the question.
25.
Yeah.
That's
they
important.
came to my radar, probably 2 or 3 years ago. I remembered the was it Mexican government seized those two dolls, I think was about where I started paying attention. And then I found Gonzalo and Tridactyls.org about 10 months before I ended up actually getting access to the DICOMs through Tridactyls.org. And then it only took me about 45 minutes to looking at these.
So you got these specifically for you, or they were already on the website? Like, did you
They
request for
were-
them?
So the way that works on Tridactyls.org is you have to apply. They want people that,
That
have
are professional. There are professionals.
yeah, some type of scope of practice that would align with reason to have access with the DICOM. So I applied, and my expertise was right in line with looking at
25 years. You better shit.
So once he gave me access, I had access to Maria, Montserrat, a couple of the smaller ones, the smaller dolls, one small doll, and it really only took me about 45 minutes of looking at these. And it was
And they still give you access to it. They haven't denied you access or anything.
the last time I tried to go on tridactyls.org, I did not have access, but I have them downloaded and they are in my possession in a couple different ways, and they exist on flash drives out there. So
And you're doing a peer-reviewed article too, right?
I'm working on one right
Yeah.
now. Yeah. Yep, I am.
That's
I'm working.
important. That's
Yep.
very important because that's 25 years of
So
experience.
can you do a
writing
peer
a
review article over a hoax or are you?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought a peer review article is over a positive aspect of something.
This is actually in a scientific world. This is a forensics case.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I'm probably going to structure what I submit will be based on the forensics that we were able to put together, looking at the imaging, the DICOM imaging between myself and Dr. Proctor and Dr. Morrison.
How many? That's it. Okay, so you named three people. What are you do you have a doctorate? Are you a doctor? Or?
No, I do not have a doctorate.
Okay, so you there's 2 doctorates and then your expertise of 25 years. How many years of expertise is that combined together?
Oh God. Dr. Morrison has been practicing, I would say probably about 35 years, and Dr. Wilson and I are about the same age. So he's probably got about 20 or 25 years in his anthropology.
85 years.
Yeah. Yep. And Dr. Morrison, I mean, he was the director of skeletal radiology here in the United States for a long time. I mean, he's a very well-respected radiologist, and his expertise is skeletal anatomy. And it took him looking at these for just a couple minutes to draw the same conclusions about the feet that I did. I mean, we literally pretty much said word verbatim, word for word, the same thing when we looked at these. So
none of them are experts on alien bodies or bodies of extraterrestrial origins. I have never had experience with anything beyond humans, right? Correct?
Correct, but we know humans when we look at them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to compare humans to humans, and if you're going to look at something, I mean, if you look at a bear and say, well, this doesn't look like a human, so it's a bear. Or if you look at a monkey and say, oh, this is a monkey, it looks like a human, but it's not a human, it's a monkey. But when they look at an extraterrestrial, if they believe in extraterrestrial, they say, oh, that's not a human, that's an extraterrestrial, but they're not an expert at extraterrestrial. So they're going to say, oh, that's a fake, human.
That's okay. Fair question.
That's a doll.
That's a fair question. So
that's what I'm bringing up.
Okay, that's a fair question. So let's put it like this, because I want to see if I'm putting it together correctly. I'm pretty sure that when you went to school, right?
That's what people are saying.
I know. When you went to school, you didn't just study human bones, correct? They threw in other types of animals out. Of course, we don't have any extraterrestrials, so they couldn't throw.
Hold on for 1 second. I'm not questioning the people's expertise. They have excellent expertise in human anatomy.
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying you're questioning anybody. You're asking.
I'm just saying.
You're asking
when it comes to these bodies, they're gonna say what they're gonna say in their expertise.
That's why I want to make sure I get it right, because I want to make sure that in her defense, I understand it correctly. Because you're saying that, okay, if you're gonna if for anybody to argue they're extraterrestrial, you have to have the extraterrestrial to view to understand it. I agree with that. The problem is that we don't have one, right? But what we do have is we have bones here on planet Earth. We don't know where these are. We do know they're planet Earth. We do know they're on planet Earth because they found on planet Earth. So at bare minimum, we can they're Earthlings. At bare minimum, the extraterrestrial part, that's for anybody that wants to argue that. Find the DNA that says that is no DNA here on planet Earth. I mean, you already explained the DNA and the contamination. I agree with you 100% on the contamination, because I did read through plenty of books that as soon as something is dug up from the ground, and as and you said, Ed is an archaeologist, I did ask him this before. As soon as you dig something up out the ground, once it hits the oxygen that you can breathe, it's the contamination starts there. And once the longer it's in that air, the longer it stays in there. So, but you do study bones, and I know that I'm pretty certain, because I've asked X-ray technicians this before about studying other bones, not just human bones, but when they went to school, they had to learn the difference between different types of bones, not just for humans, but because of the simple fact that not all X-ray technicians go to hospitals that work with humans. They also go to hospitals that work with the animals. Sometimes they go to hospitals that work with animals and humans. So they have to put all that in a textbook to make sure that everybody get the basics. And I'm pretty sure that you got the basics for that, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, in her defense, that would be it, because that's something that I have studied and looked behind what your field is when it comes to CT scanners, MRI scanners, X-ray technicians, anybody that deals with bones or internal bodies and stuff like that. They compare it to other animals, because those individuals could have the opportunity not just to work at a hospital with humans, but they can work at a veterinarian's hospital with animals. So, or both at the same time, depending on if you work at a zoo. Sometimes they'll have somebody that has an expertise in both fields, just in case somebody gets hurt on the ground. They can actually do all that they need. And it's just, everything happens. But, the idea is that, I hear when I get it when people say extraterrestrials or aliens and stuff like that. First of all, for me to believe that they were extraterrestrials, I would need something that says that they are, not just, okay, they may not be here. Okay, that's a good question. You can find I don't have the answer to that, and you're asking that question, and you seem to know that nobody else have the answer question. So you have to take it upon yourself to look on that. And what I've learned is, correct me if I'm wrong, RNA is actually older than DNA. So a lot of people talk about DNA, but they don't talk about RNA. And RNA is actually older than DNA, from what I understand. And that can go a whole realm of different things and how it can go on to about. But my point is that, like you said, when they do their tests with the X-rays, their CT scans, you as an expert in your field, you can look at these, and you have different doctors that look at these and say the same thing. So now, Fat Jesus, what is it and you too, Michelle, tell me, the people who did these CT scans, what is it exactly what they say that you disagree when they put it and post it as something that it's not? Like, what is it that you know for sure?
So one thing about the way the information is presented that has jumped out to me as deceptive from the beginning, as you showed that beautiful 3D rendering of Maria at the beginning. Most of the information that's presented from the CT scans is in that format. And the problem with that is that most of those 3D renderings, they actually did what they call a surface level rendering or skin level rendering. So all you really get is the shape of the body or the shape of the body part. You don't get to see anything that's inside. So that's why for me, when I first got access to these, my exchange, actually, I've got it saved somewhere. I'll have to tag you guys in it. Dr. Wilson was like, you know, can you open your mind and maybe believe that they aren't real? And I told him, I said, well, I would have to see the dicoms.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Keep that. Remember that. Okay. Did you say that they say somebody's trying to persuade you to say that they aren't real?
Correct.
Hold on. So I'm confused. I'm confused because when I talk to Ed, he seems to have this back and forth with you about you and your belief in them. And and from what I understand from talking to you personally, is that you believe in them. You just believe they're modified.
I did it first. I looked at them and I looked at the 3D renderings and I thought, I mean, okay, it could be possible. I was super open-minded. So for me, it was really disappointing because I follow, you know, the UFO topic for my own personal reasons and have my own, you know, things that I do within that topic for my own desires. So I was looking at it like, it would be really cool to look at these and break it open that they're alien. Like that was where my head was at when I got access to these dicoms. So I was like excited, like, oh, I'm gonna get to see an alien from the inside. So after getting access and looking at them, the horror hit me. It was almost like, you know, you go through the stages of grief and you're like, you're bargaining, you're accepting, you're doing all those things. And that's what it was for me, was that I was like horrified because I understood immediately what I was looking at wasn't alien, you know, and the mutilations were like front and center in the feet for me. So it was really intense. I had to go through like a reckoning of my own, you know, desire for them to be real to accepting what the data was telling me. And then from there, like I said, it was dark at the beginning and then it just kept getting darker as everything unfolded. The more we found, I was just like, holy shit, this is crazy that people have done this to these bodies. And it's crazy that so much money has been made and changed hands. I mean, even just Gaia alone, we dug into that. I mean, they made millions of dollars off these mummies and continue to
I just found out Gaia was made has Black Root or Black Rock or whatever it's called, has funds in it, something like that. Yeah, I just found out about that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
That's why I say money changed. The money.
That's another stream right there. Another podcast.
The money that's changed hands should make everybody really nervous about what these are and kind of raise some red flags for people. Because my mind, if these were real, if you really thought they were aliens, you really thought they were, you would be doing everything you could to get them in the top laboratories in the world. There wouldn't be gatekeeping. There wouldn't be, you know,
it wouldn't be handled like this.
No.
Look at this picture. No. This dude is literally pointing with nothing covered up.
No.
I mean, he has gloves on, but I was told that gloves are not really the greatest things to deal with anything, because gloves themselves can contaminate things as well. Am I right about that?
Yeah. Well, they
Rubber
can't.
Gloves?
But really what you should be wearing around these would be like a full bunny suit, gloves, and at least
they didn't have full bunny suits. They were wearing regular clothes.
And that's the problem with
DNA. Yeah, because dust all over.
I mean, at least wear painting outfit, you know, like the painter suit.
No, they almost have to be like the people from
Lowe's or
remember
Home
the
Depot?
movie Outbreak? That's how they almost had to be, like the movie Outbreak. That's how they had to be.
You could buy the disposable painting outfits from Lowe's and Home Depot, but they don't have a Lowe's or Home Depot in a small town like that.
Well, let me ask you this. When you say aliens, you're saying like how some people are saying that they come from a different planet, right? That's
correct.
Like how they had that old school movie or show or whatever, or not show, that little video of them slicing up an alien. That's when you were saying when you was looking at the stuff, right?
Yeah, I was looking at when they first came, when the first small dolls were seized, I went, that's odd. And it kind of caught my eye. So I dug a little deeper and then I found Gonzalo and Tridactyls.org, and I saw that they had an option to apply to have access. So I was like, yay, I'll do that. And it wasn't until Christmas of last year that I finally got access. I caught Gonzalo online and kind of pinned him down, put him on the spot, and he gave me access. And like I said, it was about 45 minutes is all it took me to look at those and go, oh my God, this is not what they're presenting them to be, and then again, the implications unfold from there.
So these right here, they have scans of these or no?
So there is one of the smaller ones. I went over it in my video where
I've seen that one.
It is listed on tridactyls.org as a known fraudulent. So they don't present that as real. So I want to give them credit where the credit is due, but
yeah.
It's pretty apparent, 2 clavicles.
That's the small one, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So that's the only one.
They have quite a few small ones, actually.
Do they have scans on all of them though?
Not all of them. No.
There is a disconnect between North America and South America, and in general with all their news.
Here, I'm going to bring you that website up.
When you try to connect with any news in South America, Peru, Bolivia, let's say for instance, China's in Bolivia right now. They're mining for lithium. Nobody knows that stuff unless you have family like I do in Argentina. And my family in Argentina told me, they're killing off the indigenous people that own the land in Bolivia. And it's a big thing because they're protesting, they're fighting, they're burning they're burning in the streets and everything. We don't know any of that stuff. It doesn't show up in our news at all. It should be news. It should be huge, but it's not. It's not. Our news is supposed to be important. And then I was in Prague, and Prague knows nothing about Trump. They don't know nothing about America. They know nothing. They know everything about Putin. They know about everything about Russia, but they know nothing about America. America means nothing to Prague. Everything that happens in America, all our politics, everything that's going on, it doesn't faze them. I was over there. I knew nothing about what was going on in the United States when I was in Prague, in Czech Republic. And that was something.
Hold up. I just read something. I'm sorry to interrupt.
When you travel around the world, you're not going to get the same news.
Yeah, that's obvious, bro. That's obvious. I mean,
well, no, not everybody knows that because people are not connected. So when you don't hear about the news,
news is mostly for. That's why I don't like to talk about news too much because
we don't know the latest information that's going down in South America or in Peru in that region.
Well, we do because they have websites, and that's why I brought up.
Recently, they're going to put these Nazca mummies. They're putting them up in a museum.
Well, that's good because then people will have access to them no matter what.
So now they accepted that these mummies are real.
Well, see, I'm glad you said that. Well, I'm glad you said that because this is what it says it addresses the hypotheses that they were modern artificial dolls made with llama skulls. Now, I've actually watched this, and this is one of the small ones. And it says humanoid reptile. When you hear that word, Michelle, what comes to your mind when you hear humanoid reptile? Because when I hear humanoid reptile, I hear something that's human / like something that could be like a snake or a lizard or something like that.
You're accessing some really old news, Brody. Yeah, I mean that is.
Well, this right here.
Every time I ask AI, it keeps on coming up with craziness from the Reuters stuff, and it has no access to the information that's going on recently.
Remember,
in Peru. No access. Like it's like AI has no access to the current information that's going on down there. Everything that you're accessing down there.
I think you have to take in the information if it depends on the lens that you're taking it in, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm a big believer that what your mindset is when you look at something, is going to determine what you're willing to believe or not. And if you look at this from the perspective of you have people that are making money and continue to make money from them, and then you look at the claims that are made, right? Most of those claims sensationalize them and are making really grand claims based on pretty tenuous evidence. And it's because they want to keep the
Yeah, I dislike that. You see the video? I dislike that. It's like they put it back into the diatomaceous earth. Instead, they should be in a special box. You know what I'm saying? You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about, Miss Anthrope.
Yes. Oh, and why would they do that? What does that accomplish? Well, diatomaceous earth is going to hide some things that won't be able to be seen because it's under a layer of diatomaceous earth. So it's very much they're running a con, on what me and Dr. Proctor actually talked about this a lot. They hope and pray that people will be ignorant to the history of the area, will be ignorant to the history of the Peruvian mummy culture and what that was and how many different cultures participated in it and what it looked like. And they bank on, or they prey on, people's desperation for answers. They know people are hungry for truth, right? Yeah, they know people are looking around the world, and they understand that there's more to it than meets the eye. And when you look at the mummy, the whole collection, and you step back with that in mind, I mean, it's a pretty powerful con to put in front of somebody who's desperate to know questions to answers that all of us are desperate to know answers to. And that is, are we alone? Have we had contact with alien beings? And they really did a wonderful job of playing on that and preying upon and hoping that people would be ignorant to the history, because a lot of the things that they prop up as unique, like the annular skulls or the conical shaped skulls, there's a very deep history there of annular skull binding. And if you do a little digging, like we were talking earlier, the Paracas skulls, that's not unusual for that area. So looking at this, and Jamie Masson, I don't know how many hoaxes he's been associated with. Now I lost count. I looked through.
Like your bluntness. I love your bluntness.
That's just the facts. The Roswell slides. I mean, he's been involved with.
Yeah, he's mostly an entertainer. He's not. It doesn't look like he's going after the facts. He's going for the fame of anything that deals with UFOs.
And what's interesting is since our team did our work to put out our videos and did what we did, he has not posted one thing on X about those mummies since about the middle of January.
Because he has a cease and desist from the University of Ica right now, and also from the Peruvian government, because that's what I read last on the thing, and they had a hearing on him.
How can you have a cease and desist on something?
Yeah, because he was making money off of it in Peru, and then he was supposed to go to jail.
Yeah, and it's funny, if you watch Jesse Michaels' Nazca mummy video,
but he won a victory. He won a victory though.
Well, he asked Jaime. He said, "Jaime, do you have any money invested in the Nazca mummies?" And Jaime goes, "Oh, I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that." Why not? Why not? I mean,
of course he does.
Yeah. Well, but why would that be? Why would you not divulge that? Would that indicate a conflict of interest? How much money do you have invested, Jamie? So there's a lot of questions there where if you step back and you look at it through the lens of it being a con, a lot of the red flags will pop out to you and you'll go, oh shit. Because these guys now, as this collection has gone, as time has passed, there's not
congressmen and senators from the United States.
Correct.
That join him in this.
They're running out of product. Antonio is proof of that. You've got a mummy with porcelain fused to metal crowns and amalgam fillings. So one of two things has to be true for him. Either he is a composite artifact, meaning they found an ancient body without a head, and they either robbed a contemporary grave and put that head on that ancient body, or the entire body is contemporary.
Well, now you know what? Now I got a
hold on.
question. Okay.
Let me finish real quick, which then raises the question, because Antonio was brutally murdered. According to the forensics that they did, the report that was put out, he was brutally murdered. He was stabbed to death. Okay. Was he alive? Like, did they kill him to make him a mummy? That's the thought that went through my mind.
Who determined that he was stabbed to death? Who made that determination?
I forget the doctor's name. It's in my article, but they had a doctor come in.
Did they find the weapon?
No, he was stabbed to death. Was
it the doctor with the knife, or was it the lady with the candlestick?
Yeah, we don't know. No, but it was his questions if he was a body that was dug up from a contemporary, graveyard in Peru of who was murdered, or there's a lot of questions that come into play there as they run out of product, where these mummies are coming from. And it's heavy. Somebody could be missing him right now.
That's crazy. That is crazy. You know, yeah. I'm going to bring this up because I think this is pretty interesting, because this is something that you would look at, right? If you was
sorry about that, guys. This is delivery time
at work, right? This is something that you would look at, right?
Correct.
What if you seen this and you don't have that? You can't tell the patient what you see. You're not the reader of the X-ray, right? But you know what the material shows. Like I've seen TikTok videos where they said that as an X-ray technician, they're looking at the person's scans and they know that this person might not have too much longer to live, but they can't tell that person because it's not their job to do that. The person that reads it, and then it's not even the person that reads it that tells them, it's somebody else that tells them, right?
We do apologize for putting you on the spot on all this too. I mean, we're not trying to make you the expert on all this, you know.
No,
we're just asking for your opinion.
No, that's something that I've learned. Like I said, before I have a podcast discussion with anybody, I want to make this known. You might not know this too much, Michelle. I read a lot of books. When I read books and I find a book that's interesting and I find this person on social media or something, I ask them for an interview, and then where I ask them questions that I've read from their books. And I've had a lot of conversations, like my whole YouTube channel is about that. Basically, it's reading what the books say, basically reading what it says that I've read, because I've read a lot of books. I only share what I've learned personally. I don't share my opinion, my thoughts, or anything, because I don't have the expertise in there. My expertise is just reading. That's it. But anyway, when I asked you for this conversation, of course I did my due diligence and I used all my sources available to learn about each and every field that I possibly could. And of course, when I was doing that, when I would get on there for my entertainment to look on TikTok, you know how the algorithms work and all this other stuff with all these apps. All these videos came up with people saying literally they're filming themselves sitting at their computer where they're having an X-ray. They don't show the computer or nothing, like nothing private, but they're showing them with, a very slow satellite music that says something, the title would say something like, looking at these scans and knowing that this person may not have too much life left in them, but and they can't say anything. They just have to go back in there with a smiley face and say, thank you for your time. Somebody will contact you in 2 to 4 weeks, 6 weeks, depending on it. And you know that as soon as they leave that door, somebody's going to probably be calling them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And,
yeah. So
poker face and medical imaging.
Yeah, and that's basically what you got to call it. So from your expertise of 25 years, if you would see something like this, what would you explain this to, if you could?
So that particular image, if I were to see that, the first thing I would think is, did somebody swallow a foreign object?
Mm-hmm.
That looks to me, that's so dense, that looks like it could be either rock or something like calcified, solidified. So if you look up what eggs should look like in a body, a lot of times, like in reptiles and stuff, they're pretty much translucent. You really can't see them on X-ray. So if you were to run a Google search,
I'm
what
gonna do
do
that right now while you're saying that.
yeah, what they think, and from the Handbook of Mummy Studies, there is a chapter in there on these mummies, and what they do believe a lot of those egg implants were actually fossilized eggs that you can get from China. And as those dolls were built, they put them inside to create that illusion of a pregnant entity. So anything that dense on X-ray or CT, we would think that you swallowed a foreign object. Because most of the
how would you search for that? Like if I was to go to Google,
so
right
I would
now.
like, what do eggs look like in a pregnant alligator? What do eggs look like in a pregnant lizard on X-ray? Would be the kind of question I would ask, and you'll get some examples of that. But it's not, they tend to be more translucent. People need to realize, like, when they lay eggs, the shells are soft. They have to stay malleable to be able to pass out of the body. And then a lot of times the shells will harden or thicken up after they've been laid. So, the idea that something would be that dense and calcified and then actually be able to pass from the body doesn't pass the sniff test either. So, I mean, most eggs, when you look at them on X-ray inside an animal, are going to be almost translucent, or you'll see like a faint outline, but they won't be that dense.
I got one, but I gotta look up the other one. I gotta put inside the stomach, right? Or
Yes.
in X-ray. That's what I need to put in
X-ray of
X-ray.
like a pregnant lizard, X-ray of a pregnant alligator would probably give you.
Man, it's so hard to find that.
I had to do some digging, and I think I've got a post somewhere on X with that, because we addressed that too when we were looking at these. But all of those small dolls, like the one scan that I got to look at, none of the anatomy made any sense. There was like 2 clavicles end to end, no sternum. The spinal column was disproportionately large for the size of the body. Like, you wouldn't expect to see a spinal column that long. And then the ribs were actually broken, and both ends went into the spinal column in the back, which, if you understand spinal columns, you can't have that. And you can't have a jagged bone in your spinal column. You would not be able to do anything. You'd be paralyzed. So a lot of those small dolls are really egregious on CT. They look okay from the outside, but when you start looking at the anatomy on the inside, you realize really quickly that none of this is functional. And if this person or this thing was alive, they would be dead from what you're looking at. So
I found that you did it on a turtle. So I want to show you something. I found exactly what you was talking about, because I'm telling you, it's easy if you know how to look for things, you know your resources. And it's easy to find anything. So let me show you. This is I went to you once you said that you posted it, I went straight to your page. Are you talking about this?
Yes.
That's how it would look.
Yeah, so you see how they're translucent, like you can kind of see through the egg. You have a definitive you can see them, but you can actually still see through them. So radiation is still passing through those eggs. Those eggs are still soft.
Well, that was my question also. But I mean, how old should an egg be for it not to pass through it? You know what I'm saying? Like, to be solid like that. Could it be 1,000,000 years old?
Well, it doesn't get solid until it comes out the animal, right?
Correct.
Like it doesn't start becoming solid until afterwards. So when the egg comes out, well, except certain like chickens, like it's still soft though.
Correct. Yep. Correct. So it takes.
But hold on for a second. Let's slow down. But what other creatures swallow their eggs after it comes out? and puts it back into themselves.
Well, we can't think of any other creatures because
there's a snake.
Tridactyl. No, because Tridactyl says they're reptiles.
They carry, and also as she was talking about alligators, they put them back into they carry their own youngs around, right?
No, they put them in the nest. Alligators put them in the nest.
No, they carry their eggs, right, in their mouth.
No, you don't.
Yeah, they do. Alligators carry
bro,
around
I'm from the South, bro. If you walk into an alligator's den, you better hope you're not near no eggs.
And then and there's other animals that do carry. They put them back inside.
Yeah, but which ones? Be accurate. Which ones? You know what I mean? That's
we're gonna have to search because
it's like that. That's the perfect example of what I mean about you have a question that you're asking us we don't know about. So look it up, see what it says, because that's the perfect way of how we find these things. Because I know alligators, they put them in nests. I know snakes, certain snakes put them in nests also. Like if you have to be careful where you walk at. Turtles, they put them in a nest. You know, they go out, and that's why you see them going onto the beach in certain places. And at a certain time of the year, you're not allowed to be on those beaches because
they say garter snakes, rattlesnakes, sharks, leopard sharks, and other fish.
But those are fish. Are those reptiles?
Reptiles. That's what they're saying.
Which ones are reptiles?
Do that. That I just mentioned them.
The snakes,
the garter snakes, and rattlesnakes do that.
Now, does that garter snake look anything like that tridactyl?
I mean, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to, I mean, that's apple to oranges. You're trying to say, this is human. This is a rattlesnake. This is, you're trying to compare something that is not us. You're trying to compare that's something that's not a snake. You're trying to say that this is a bottle. Well, it doesn't look like a bottle.
No, that's not. I don't think that's what anybody's saying, because
thing is absolutely unique. We don't have any idea what it is.
No, and I think
that is what people are arguing about.
No, that's they're arguing that it's unique. I don't think I'm from what I am.
No classification to compare it to.
That they give one. They call it humanoid. They give it a humanoid reptile. That's what the classification.
Because it's bipedal. Because that's 2 feet.
But that's what they give it. So we have to go off of what they give. That's what I do. So that's why when I said earlier,
you're trying so hard biblically to say it's like us, but what if it's not like us? It has no connection.
Let's be honest. Do they have you or Ed ever said they had human DNA?
Some of them do. Some of them
exactly.
Are hybrid.
So if they have human,
some of them are
DNA,
hybrid.
What does that make them if they have human DNA? They make
hybrid human.
Humans,
meaning that they had interrelations with humans.
Now, what's the other DNA? Because from what I understand, just from this conversation right now, is that the unknown DNA is mostly contaminated, and it's not.
Well, we were talking about contamination.
Yeah, so if it's contaminated, so if we don't know until that contaminated DNA comes and classifies it as something, then we can only go off of the human.
My argument with Professor Ed Casas is that we need to get universities involved from other colleges, from other countries, so that we can redo the DNAs and we can donate, like these universities need to upgrade, these universities need a better stuff, because honestly, the University Ica is in the hotbed of archaeology, and they really need to upgrade all their stuff. I mean, they really need a good archaeological department, straight up. No ifs or buts about it.
I think I've been looking at the Tridactyls website, and I've been listening and reading the subtitles. Of course, they speak the language in their home language, and it's translated into English in its better terms. That's just somebody that understands it from that translation. I guarantee you get 2 translators, and they'll probably say, "No, he was probably talking about this." When they do the subtitles. So I'd be careful. I'm careful and cautious with that. But what I'm saying is that I know from me doing my DNA test just on me, I have unknown DNA. I literally does. It says like 0.5 or 1 point something like unknown DNA. Does that say that I'm alien? Absolutely not. Does that say that I'm an extraterrestrial?
Wait a minute.
Absolutely
Wait a
not.
minute. What if you are? What if you are?
It's not what if. It's what it's telling
Why
me
are
right now.
you saying you are
No,
not?
no, I didn't say that.
How
See,
do
listen to
you
the word.
know
Listen,
you're
no,
not?
listen to the
You're
words that I
claiming
used.
that you're not because
Listen
you
to the
say you're
words.
not.
Listen to the words
What
that I
if
said.
10 years from now they say you are?
Listen to the words that I said. This is why it's very important that people have conversations and actually listen to the words. I said, listen, I said, it says I have unknown DNA. It doesn't
Yeah.
say anything besides that. So I go off of that. Me
Yeah.
going into the what ifs, that would send me down a whole spiral of different things. Only because I know that I share
Bro,
DNA
100
with
years
bananas.
ago, there was a lot more what ifs.
No,
And
there's
today we
more,
have a
there's
lot of
more,
what ifs.
there's more
proof.
what ifs now than there is in the past, because
No,
in the past they
there
were more
way
focused
more
on
what ifs than right
no,
now.
they in the past, if you look at
In the
their
past, they
mythologies,
believed in magic.
see, that's a whole different thing of what you believe in magic.
There's
and
no more magic. It's science.
Well, that's the same thing. It's called alchemy. But anyway,
Meteors were falling from the sky. Oh my
That's
gosh,
alchemy.
the gods are angry at us. Oh my gosh. We need to sacrifice a virgin.
No, seriously, I want to stay on track on this because it's very important.
These poor
we
girls, man.
we already no.
Rest
Listen,
in
seriously,
peace.
let's stay on topic. That is serious that we have DNA that says that they're human, and the rest is unknown. So until that unknown is actually specified of what it is, you can only say right now it's human. You can't say that. Well, what if that unknown is extraterrestrial and alien? Go down that rabbit hole if you want to, but get the facts first. You know what the facts are. And then you have to also, just like with expertise, you have to look at, could it have been modified? Everything that I've read so far, even when it comes to certain individuals, even Ed said it plenty of times on his show that it's a possibility that they may be modified. So now you have to look into that and say, okay, why are they called tridactyls with 3 fingers if they've been modified? They're modified tridactyls. That's what the term should be, right?
You
or something like that.
You recognize this picture, right?
Yeah, and then this is and I'm glad you brought this up because
this comes from William Brown.
And I wanted to bring up the elongated heads from when y'all was talking about this earlier. The oldest Homo sapien bones that we have on this planet right now, that are considered Homo sapiens, come from Morocco, Africa, and they had a type of elongated head. Okay, with these type of heads, I want to know what was the genetics that caused this, because genetics can carry over for generations. So I see you shake your head. So go ahead, speak, Michelle. I want to know what you're talking
about. So I actually did a video on the skull binding, which that's been around. I think the earliest they found evidence of artificial cranial deformation is what they call that. Was from Neanderthals in Iraq about 45,000 years ago. So this is a practice that has been on the planet for almost 50,000 years.
Why did we stop? I mean,
we did it. Look in Africa, they still do it.
It fell out of fashion. It was, especially in South America, it was used as a status symbol. So
royalty, kingship.
Correct. Like pillars of the community, the shamans, anybody that was like considered at the top echelon of their society would practice this. So you'd start as an infant and they would wrap fabric. There's 2 types, tabular, which they would use boards, one in the front and one in the back, which would give the skull more of a heart-shaped appearance or more of like a appearance. And then you had the annular skull binding like this, where they'd start when you were an infant and they would start wrapping and would maintain that pressure so that you get that elongation of the skull like that. So that has nothing to do with genetics and everything to do with manual.
If it was natural, then we would have people being born like this as we speak today. Correct?
Yeah. And I mean, you do see some skull shape varies. I mean, human beings have an interesting expression, based on genetics and where you're from, where you might see even some of that occur naturally, where they'll have more of an elongated head or a narrow head that kind of comes up in the back. So it's not like outside of the realm of possibility, but that skull in particular, yes. And then you get the formation of Wormian bones. So a lot of the arguments are that they don't have sutures, or it has more bones in it than a normal head. But that's what happens when you're crushing a skull, an infant skull. Your body will try to protect the brain by growing extra bones in between the gaps that form. So you get this elongated, kind of malformed shape with extra chunks of bone in there that probably shouldn't be there, and sutures that might disappear because the skull's having pressure applied to it continuously for such a long period of time.
How much calcium do you have to take just to add more bone into your body to grow extra bone?
You really don't. It's your body, as long as you're, getting, and most of those babies would have breastfed back then, obviously. So they're going to be getting breast milk from mom and then introduced through the diet, through the different foods and stuff that they ate, depending on where they lived regionally. But a lot of the things that they talked about with the skulls, as far as volumes and stuff, the one volume that I ended up finding for Maria, and though her skull is elongated, and we think that she went through this type of process, her volumes were actually a touch small. She was actually under volume for skulls typical to that area. So they like to argue that they had bigger brain capacity and all of this other stuff, but the few numbers that they did provide didn't show that either. So, it's interesting, the things, again, it goes into that, we're going to bank on you being ignorant to the history of the area and exploit that to sell the con, is really what it came down to. They hope people don't research the Chinchurro culture. They hope people don't research the Paracas.
Oh no! It's just going to come up anyways because we're bringing it up,
Right. But
we're gonna bring up that information. See, if we continue on this podcast without bringing it up, then we're being ignorant as well. So we're gonna inform.
You know what? It's so funny y'all are talking about the elongated heads, because I'm over here looking it up, and like I said, I always try to find something that relates with it, and it's called craniosyntosias, and it's basically like I guess a deformity of the brain. I want to bring it up really quick because I want to do this with you guys while y'all on here. This is actually pretty interesting. So I'm looking at this right here, and I see one from I'm looking at all these different. Oh man. I'm looking at all these different ones right here. And of course they don't have, it's not nowhere near exaggerated of what we see, right? And a lot of people talk about sutras and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You've taken pictures of skulls, I'm sure, in your 25 years. Do they always have the common sutras in the head? I think that's what they call it within there.
Everybody's got sagittal sutures. Maria has them too. Yep. Everybody,
every human, right?
Every human being has got sutures. That's where your brain, your babies have soft spots. So everywhere you have a suture is where the skull then grows into meat. After you grow and your brain is done growing, you form your suture. So everybody's got a sagittal suture that runs right down the center. You have another one that comes right over the ear.
Fingerprint, right? It's like a fingerprint.
Kind of, yeah. But I mean, the shape is always very traditional. Like your sagittal suture that runs up the middle of your skull usually has this beautiful zigzag, and then it meets in the back with your lambdoid suture, which is an arch kind of around the back of your skull right here. So all of the mummies, when we looked at those, me and Dr. Morrison, they all have sutures, which has been a claim. Oh, they don't have sutures, but they do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
they have the diatomaceous earth on it, so you can't see anything on top of it until it's cleaned off, right?
Well, until you look at you can see them on the images. You can see them on the DICOM images, on the sagittals and coronals, on the planar formats. Yep, you sure can. And if you want to look up tabular skull binding, that'll show you, because they also did that in Peru, some of those clover shaped skulls. It'll make the skull wider this way, but those are also found there too. So both of those were practiced in the area of Peru.
Yeah, I did read that they did this, that this goes back to the Neanderthals because of the simple fact that they found Neanderthals with their heads elongated. And of course, not exaggerated as some of the skulls that we see today, but obviously they are. And, it's all this stuff, because we've been going on for almost 2 hours now. And I would definitely love to have another conversation with you, because I do like going through your work. I've been looking at your stuff, and what you've been saying is that basically you don't agree with the fact that these are real specimens. I guess that I could use that word, right? If it's the right word to use. You just don't agree that that these how they were born. They were modified.
Correct. So are real bodies. They are real human beings. They were human beings that were modified post-mortem to perpetuate the illusion of them being tridactyl.
And I know Ed believes some of them, not all of them, were some because he believes that they are types of reptiles that they lived in the water first. Do you have any evidence of that, or?
No. None of these are the small ones that Ed likes to focus on. We worked with Elaine Hubrecht, who did a lot of work with samples from Josephina. And he found that those particular, and I did write a couple articles with his work, that they were modern glue, plant product, animal product. So, with looking at his work and looking at the rest of these smaller ones, I don't believe any of the small dolls are legitimate or would have been legitimate living beings. They're all fabricated. Doesn't matter which one you're talking about. The large mummies like Maria, Montserrat, Antonio, Lois, the big ones, those were human beings that were modified.
Yeah, Tridactyls that website only had 3 small ones that I could find, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah. He doesn't post a lot of those, because I think that they pretty much all agree, even the team at ICA, that the small ones are all dolls. They are not real. They are fabrications. The large ones is where the controversy and the debate arises, is that, well, how could you fabricate something like that? And well, nobody fabricated anything. They had a human body to begin with that they just changed. But you see, they weaponize that wording, right? Well, you couldn't fabricate something like that. Well, obviously not. It's a human body. No one had to build that, but it wouldn't take a whole lot of effort to cut off part of the foot, or the foot might have been desiccated, and you would have had disarticulation because of decay. So a lot of the foot might have been gone already, and the process might have not been that hard for them to do that. So they are real bodies. We don't debate that one bit. But where we digress or we diverge is that they were modified. Somebody cut them up and put them back together as you see them now.
I want to clarify something on the taxidermy comments. What is it that you say about the taxidermy stuff?
So the Jacueros, a couple of the whistleblower reports, Steve Mera talked to him, and I think Raul got kind of a similar story. You have to know the history. The Chinchurro culture in that area had a very intense death ritual where they would disassemble a body. So they would remove the skin, they would remove the muscles, they would then take the organs out, pack the cavities with plant fibers, rebuild the muscles with plant fibers, and then reapply that person's skin. If there were any gaps, they would use animal skin like seal skin to fill in those gaps, and they would remake this mummy, then coat the bodies with paints and that was kind of part of their burial process. So when you look at it from that angle, that type of practice had been embedded in the area for a long time, and then you look at the kind of mutilations we're seeing on the feet, we think that they might have used, and again, it's all, we're speculating in the dark side here, either, the Jacueros describe collecting nerve fibers, digging up bodies for skin and other things. So we don't know if they harvested skin from other bodies to complete the process, if they used animal skins to complete that process. But it looks like they used glue, then wrapped everything in a thin layer of skin, then coated everything in the diatomaceous earth, because that hides a lot of those seams and stuff that you can see on CT when you look at the images. So there is a process there, and the Jacueros described those types of processes, both to Steve Mera and to Raul, about how they go about collecting parts for these, and then the fabrication of them, and so on and so forth. So it's not without, people go, how would they do that? Well, you have to understand the process of decay, and you'd have to understand, the process of taxidermy, and the fact that that's part of the cultural landscape there, and has been for, over 1,000 years. Yeah.
I have an argument from the legendary Shelby. It's like you're talking about, you're taking Ford parts and you're adding Chevy parts and you're adding all these other parts, and you're saying that they were all added in to make a certain car out of something, but it doesn't make any sense because not all the parts are fitting in, and you're speculating that this is all happening, but it doesn't fit together. You're trying to create something because your first assumption is they're hoaxes. You're going along with the idea they're all hoaxes. So you're trying to lead the whole investigation towards that direction. So you're going to go with the taxidermy thing. And on top of that, there is no reality behind it. So you're not even giving it a chance that they could be real. You're just going to go with the whole thing that they're hoaxes. Period.
No, what she said, she did say they were real. She just said they're
real
modified.
Humans, but
real
not
humans,
Tridactyls.
Well, when you look, again, from my perspective, looking at the feet, when you can see that there's been amputations, we tried to come together and figure out how they would do that. Taxidermy is one of the only theories that we could come up with as to how they would complete the process after they mutilated them. So I don't base, it's not a question of leading the investigation anywhere. We followed the data. We followed the imaging.
What if the data is wrong?
Well, then you would have to ask Gonzalo why he has DICOM images up on tridactyls.org that aren't the mummies, because that was one of the first things I hemmed him up on, and I've hemmed him up repeatedly publicly online. Either the DICOMs are the DICOMs or they're not.
Well, explain that, because some people might not know what that is. So explain what a DICOM is.
So he has what we look at in CT, when we scan somebody, we get a series of images from the scan, and they're either, what he has on his website are either the scans from these mummies, like he claims they are, and he's told me repeatedly, yes, these were the scans that were performed at ICA. These are the images that the doctors, that the team has been looking at, or they're not, or you have gotten scans from somewhere else and you're presenting them as they're the scans of these mummies. And he has assured me repeatedly, multiple times, that the DICOM images that are given to researchers like myself are the actual genuine scans from Maria Montserrat and the ones that they have scanned. So either the DICOM images are the DICOM images or they're not.
Yeah, because you see discrepancies.
And according to the DICOM images that they have provided, the mutilations in the hands and feet, the feet especially, are blatant. So it's very hard to go, okay, that's why I told you guys, like, debating the validity.
But you keep on saying they're mutilated, and
Yeah.
what if they're not naturally like that? Maybe
They're not.
that's the way they are.
That's the thing. She already explained why they're not naturally. She explained that earlier.
Could they not be just a natural phenomenon to be that way?
No, unfortunately,
not for us, but could they not be natural for the specimen itself to be that way?
No, there's there's certain things on CT that tell the truth or don't. And you can see where the tissues have been cut, and you can see where none of the metatarsals.
How about people that break their bones? Like they have a natural way of, like, their bones always break and reset, break and reset, break.
Well, you
and
could tell the
reset.
broken
Remember that
bone all the
movie,
time.
Mr. Glass? You know?
You're talking about Unbreakable, but this is not a movie.
Yeah. You
bro.
know,
This is real
the
life.
person that had the disease. It's a rare disease.
You're talking about Unbreakable,
but
with
they
Samuel
have
L.
to keep
Jackson.
on healing their bones. It's so unusual.
You're talking about Samuel L. Jackson and
Unbreakable. Remember
but
that?
This ain't a movie though, bro. This is real life. This is 25
is there
years.
not a disease like that though?
I mean,
but there's no evidence of that in the rest of these skeletons. Like
maybe it's a whole tribe of them.
No.
Genetically.
And the other thing is like there's inconsistencies even between the specimens. So some specimens have, 4 bones, 4 phalange bones, and some only have 3.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I learned about Tridactyls.org is some of them have 4 and then some of them have 3. So that's what confused me, because the go-to source is Tridactyls.org, but then you would see discrepancies on that website itself.
I'm just bringing up that anomalies do exist.
No, it does. I always say 1% is always a number.
Exist in
I always say 1%.
Rare. They're rare.
But you're talking to somebody who's done this for 25 years. So obviously, if it's a rare disease, obviously she would know about it because it's 25 years. But
I'm just arguing that she's putting everything all into one basket. I'm just saying, give it a chance and open it up. And
well, that's what I think she is, because if she wasn't, she wouldn't be here right now discussing this with you.
5 months looking at these DICOM images and looking at these mummies from the inside. So there, again, I'm not sure what initially kicked this off or motivated the Jacueros to do this, or what their motivation was, but my suspicion is it was all money. And the DICOMs, being what the DICOMs are, show that all of these mummies that I've had access to and that Dr. Morrison has looked at, who is an expert in skeletal anatomy, we both come to the same conclusion when we look at these images.
I have to agree with you. The Jacueros should not have any hand in this. I agree with you completely, 100%. These Jacueros are not anthropologists or archaeologists. They have no degree in the field. Or
an X-ray technician or radiologist.
So these guys are just going in there with a hammer or crowbar, and they're going like this in the ground looking for these mummies.
Correct.
Whatever. They're looking for whatever they could find to dig for gold and all that stuff. And they're just ripping through the earth, and who knows? What if they're doing all the stabbing?
But see, this is one thing that I like to do. When I have what if questions, I like to write them down, and that's why I said before we had this discussion. That's why when we had this discussion, I actually had questions written down. Like I have 2 screens in front of me, so I have my other screen up here of things that I wanted to ask you, and I pretty much asked them all. I gotta say this, I believe that they are modified because that's all I've read. I've read that they're 3 fingers. That's why I put the thumb on there, because I always will say this, and I told you this before too, Fat Jesus. I've read plenty of books that when it comes to extraterrestrials or aliens, in some cases, these people describe them with 3 fingers and 2 thumbs or 1 thumb. I told you that. There's also mythologies out there that talk about individuals with certain fingers, and I know about the genetics and all this stuff. I've actually had a discussion with a geneticist, a legit geneticist. And he actually told me that when something like that happens, it doesn't always carry forward to the next generation. So it can't be a whole tribe that's affected by this. It has to be a disease that affects the tribe, not the genetics. Now, of course, there'll be certain things that's wrong, but not everybody's going to have the same ailment. Somebody might have 7 fingers and 2 toes and so on and so forth. It might be different because the genetics is not coding it that way. Because if they was coding it that way, that means you will be able to find it in the DNA to find it that coded that way. But when it comes to diseases, that's something that affects somebody, no matter what, and that does a whole different things. And I'm a firm believer of 1% things happening. But in this case, I don't see it as a 1% thing. I see this more as why are there so many what if questions, and these what if questions aren't being answered? I'm from Michelle's, out of due respect to her, she's speaking on her scans. She's not speaking on mythology. She's not speaking on,
she wasn't offended by they don't have any thumbs.
No,
because maybe there's a bunch of thumb suckers out there, and she was like, "Oh man, this has got to end. This has got to end. We gotta stop this right now for all the thumb suckers out there, all the children that just suck. Just what can they do? These poor kids."
No, but seriously, like from her expertise, she's not speaking on genetics. She's not speaking on it. She goes off the DNA of what they say. And she only speaks on that, but she doesn't go out of her way and say, what if this, what if that? And that's where I think a lot of people dig their own rabbit holes. They ask one question and they don't get that answer, and they don't look for that answer. And then they ask another question and they forget that one, and they keep going. That's why I like to write mine down and say, okay, look, what can I say? Are these modified? Are there people in this field who are saying that they are extraterrestrials and aliens? Are they saying that these are modified? Yes, they are. Okay. What is the unknown? Well, they can't say it. They're only saying extraterrestrial because it's unknown. Well, what makes it extraterrestrial? But what makes it extraterrestrial? Nothing makes it extraterrestrial. Just that we get some myths that say that. And I'm a firm believer on myths, that myths can say all kinds of things. But if you know how to,
this guy right here is the myth expert right here.
Like I study it a lot, and I'm telling you, I've read different things about it, and that's why Tridactyls fascinate me. But I don't think that aliens from extraterrestrials from outer space came from here and did some things like that. 2 things can be right at the same time.
Come on.
But it might have not been with these species. It could, and if these are modified and you're looking at them from your expertise, who can deny that? You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm, that's like, if Ed was here, I would ask Ed, would you take would you take somebody's advice that's not in your field and tell you what to believe if they're not in field? So how could you tell somebody else in their field what to believe? You have 25 years in this. He's an archaeologist. I don't know how long he's been an archaeologist.
He's been doing it for a long time, 30 years.
So he digs up. He doesn't look at the scans like you. He knows. He doesn't look at the science behind it like you see it. He can read about it, but you can read and analyze it. That's the difference when it comes up to this, is being able to analyze the material that you're reading.
Problem throughout this whole thing is that you have a lot of people weighing in that are weighing in outside their scope of practice.
Yes, that's the problem with a lot.
Yes,
you got VTubers out there too. So.
Yeah, I mean, you have archaeologists trying to interpret medical imaging data where they have no expertise to do so.
Oh.
And conclusions that are being drawn because of their shitty analysis, are false or inaccurate. But again, that's what happens when you practice outside your scope of practice, is that you're going to have people making claims based on expertise they don't have. And that's the problem. I did tag you in Dr. Morrison's interview with Will. If you guys want to watch it later, it's about 17 minutes long, where he kind of goes over what he saw when he sat down and looked at the DICOMs. But you can't escape if the DICOMs are the DICOMs, which I've been assured that they are, that the images presented are the images of these mummies. They all show manipulation at the hands and feet.
And that's your expertise. That's your expertise. That's what I want people to understand.
believe, like I was looking at it from when I came into this, I was looking at it like, I might be one of the first people to look at a body that isn't from Earth or that might be an alien. And I
Mhm.
went with with an open mind, with that kind of hope in the back of my mind that, this might be really cool to be a part of. And
Yes.
Fortunately, that wasn't how it unfolded. And I mean, it's been a nightmare. Like, I've had death threats, and I've had, people
Yeah,
make
that's crazy.
threats to me over this, and my involvement in it. I've had to tell my boss. I've had to go to,
Why?
Because they're
um,
idiots. They're idiots. There's no
because
Why
explanation. They're
would
idiots.
someone make a death threat to you? You
People are
know,
they're
they
ignorant. They're
want
ignorant and idiots.
are they anti thumb suckers or what the hell? You know, Jesus Christ. I
money.
mean, you're
It's a lot.
not a threat. I mean, come on. You're just making your opinions. That's it.
But they viewed us as a threat. So, I have had people reach out to me and say, we're gonna come after you. Had to go to my boss and, let my boss know what's going on. And I've been to the sheriff, and let the sheriff know in case somebody tries to swat us.
Hmm.
We're involved
Crazy.
in, it's a forensics case. I mean, the repercussions, I mean, if Antonio is what I think he is, there could be criminal, things charges that could arise
Yeah.
from at the end. So, people don't want you sniffing around and fucking with their money. That's really
No,
what it
you're
comes
right. That's
It's
what,
crazy.
and this is what I wanted to ask you because you
And
talked about
especially these
social
dang
media.
times with the what 16 scientists have disappeared already.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let me ask you this: have you ever made any post about your belief in them? Because we know you have posts about you talking about how you disagree with certain things about them. But have you ever made a post about, hey, this is very interesting. I want to look more into this, like in your early days?
Yeah, I did, or I do remember posting about the small ones and just seeing plane films and being like, huh, that's really interesting. It would be really neat to see, what these look like on CT or MR. But that was probably a couple years ago. And
Yeah,
then
of course.
yeah, and then when they came back into my purview this time and I got access, I had been doing a little more research on them because they had been in the news, and there had been some press conferences and stuff that had popped up around them. And I'm like, what is the deal with these? I really want to know. So yeah, again, a nightmare. It's been a nightmare for all of us. I mean, this wasn't a fun thing for any of us to do. This
Yeah.
wasn't,
Nobody likes getting death threats.
no, no. I
Yeah.
mean, I would have much rather it had a happy ending, and I would have much rather it been like, a keystone piece of evidence to help, like, give us that solid, like, we're not
Yeah.
alone, and it just turned out to not be that,
All right.
unfortunately.
I got like two more questions and then we'll close out. Of
Really?
course, Fat
Yeah,
Jesus will
you've been
have his.
saying that for the past hour.
I ain't
Two
never said
more
I had two
questions.
more. I ain't never said two more questions. But I think it's important that people understand that your expertise in this is need to be is enough validity in the fact that you know what you're talking about. You're in this field. You don't have, you know, no outsider or just sitting, on your butt on the couch looking at something and saying, "Hey, this is that and this is that." I know that you disagree with some of the things that other people disagree with, but I haven't heard anybody say that you're an X-ray, that they're in the X-ray field or radiological field or any other field that you're in. And I know for a fact that archaeology can't look at the same thing that you look at. When you look at a CT scan, you're going to look at it different from me. I've actually said it while you was in the in one of the live discussions when I was with Fat Jesus and that is I said that I know what bones look like from my perceiving of when I look at an x-ray when they showed me when I broke my bones and stuff like that. But when you talked about skin and all this other stuff and stuff that you had to look for, I don't know anything about that. So I go off what you say as an expert, and I really do appreciate your time coming in. I want to ask you these last two questions. When you came into this field and you found out the first day that they were modified, was you happy that they were modified, or was you like, dang, where does it leave from there?
I was disappointed. It was disappointment, then it was horror. Mostly because, my mind started unfolding like, okay, if they're modifying these bodies, where are they getting them? Where are they getting the bones to add in? That kind of scared me. And then I'm going, okay, who's making money, off of these? So like it went from like a very small nightmare to a really big nightmare really fast for me. So I was super disappointed. And then I was just horrified and worried about, where are these bodies coming from? How are they acquiring all these different bones to do this? Where are they getting them? Are they digging up bodies in contemporary graves? Are they going out to these burial sites and just looting them? Because they are just scattered everywhere. So just a lot of the ethics of it unfolded for me really fast from that first glance and making that realization, like, holy shit, this is really bad. This is like, we're talking about mutilating, things that should be preserved for the cultural heritage of Peru and that belong to the Peruvian people. These are their ancestors. And having, some Native American heritage myself, like I can only imagine, I would feel.
The guys that were doing it are actually the the people themselves that come from the ancestors. So it's not like there were German people that came in and says, "Hey, let's just ruin the ancestral region and let's start making a whole story of them."
But that makes it even worse. It's like disrespect for your own ancestors.
Sorry, German people. I didn't mean to put you there.
I know how I would feel if it had been my ancestors. So, in that respect, like, it's just horrific when you look at it like that. And that, these were probably beautiful, intact bundles. And these mummies probably would have had a wonderful story to tell us if they hadn't been looted like they were. And that's really a tragedy. And especially pregnant mummies like Montserrat. I mean, we don't find pregnant mummies very often. So the information that could have been gleaned from her alone, had she been excavated and, gone through the appropriate channels of custody, that information's lost. So it's the repercussions are bigger than just, destroying a fantasy for someone. The repercussions could mean, people getting murdered to perpetuate this, people being threatened to perpetuate this, heritage being lost indefinitely forever, information being lost forever. And that's really the biggest tragedy from this whole thing.
Right.
So what if they are real?
What she said they are real.
No, but what if they are really tridactyls and this whole information that you went on and
that leads me to my last question, and that's a good question you asked. What would take you to believe that these are actually 100% three-finger, three-toe real alien / extraterrestrial individuals? For the people who want you to believe that, what would take you to do that, go down that road and believe that?
Oh, I guess I would have to totally ignore all of my expertise.
You have to come knock on her door. Yo, what's up? Give me 3 fingers up in the air. There's 3 fingers.
There's really, at this point, I guess the only thing that would change my mind is if they came to me and said, well, the dicoms that you looked at weren't the real images. Here's the real images. That would really be about the only thing. And then those images would have to show me that these haven't been cut on or modified in any way. And there's really nothing at this point that would convince me that this particular collection is real. Now, I am not.
It's not just you now, it's your other colleagues too, right? The other two that you was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that worked together to help Will make his presentation. I mean, and we talked to Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp and Jesse Michaels. We spoke with all of them. We all pretty much came to the same conclusion, and all of us pooled our expertise, from different angles, and we're drawing the same conclusions, even with separate scopes of practice. So if they found a mummy somewhere else, maybe not Peru, maybe Egypt or somewhere else that presented as a tridactyl, I would be very open. Like, I'm open to seeing scans of other mummies that may come out in the future and helping people determine what they are. But this collection in particular, there's nothing that's going to.
If the U.S. came out today with the disclosure and they came out with these so-called tridactyls out in public as alive, and they showed them to the public, and they look so similar to them, then how would you feel then?
I would still not change my mind about that collection. And you have to understand, they're inspired by art. People are like, well, maybe they inspired the art. No, the artisans were inspired by the art when they constructed these.
The same thing with the Paracas skulls and the elongated head. Somebody had to see something way back 45,000 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I think that they were definitely there. There's a possibility there that they could have been emulating something. But that doesn't mean that
we always talk about on this podcast, right? Rebirth of the Word, that there could be an emulation of something that they saw that they couldn't explain. There's no science back then. So they saw something that they worship. They made themselves leaders and say, we're going to be a leader. This is what leadership is. So we're going to make our heads longer and bigger because these gods that came out of nowhere, their heads were longer and bigger. And that's crazy to say. Why would you modify yourself and hurt yourself to be looking like that in the first place?
People, I don't think it's hurting because a lot of it happens when they're newborn. So a lot of it is shaped while they're young.
I don't know. Putting your baby through that.
You got to look around. You got to look around the world though, from different tribes. Different tribes, indigenous tribes, they do all kinds of modifications. There's women in Asia that
I actually have a picture up with that, but I don't know if you want to show it or not.
They have women that put things on their necks to make their necks grow longer. There's women that bind their feet. Rings. There's African men that have big bellies because that's supposed to be a sign of wealth
and they're dinglings too.
So it's just to understand this, you can tell a modification from that just visually, so you can see that today's world. So when it comes to a CAT scan, I'm pretty sure that you could see that in a CAT scan too. So my point is that
today we wear platform shoes to be taller.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, people used to modify their feet like that. But the point is that
we do surgically, right?
Yeah,
Miss Anthrope, we do surgically modify our legs to be taller.
Yeah, they're doing surgeries like that now, which seem pretty barbaric. I wouldn't want to do it, but yeah, it's out there for sure.
Yeah, they've been doing this for thousands of years. That's my point, is that people have been modifying their bodies for thousands of years. There are people who want to look totally different from others. So it's not out the way to think that, that they did this back then. The point is that right now
wait, slow down. And she did bring about she was arguing the fact that it's about money and how they're making a lot of money. But now we could counter that as well, that doctors make money off of short people too. How about that? That there's no reason for short people to be spending all that money. I mean, we could accept short people being short. Why are these doctors making millions of dollars off of short people when we could just, psychologically tell them, look, you're just fine the way you are, man. You don't need to be that tall. We don't have to barbarically rip you apart just so you could be tall. You know what I'm saying? But these doctors, they don't care.
That's Michelle's point.
They're making millions of dollars.
That's the point. Is that
they're professionals? These are professionals.
Yeah, there's money in it. So that's the point.
Professionals with what? 30 to 40 years of being a doctor, right? And we're talking about professionals, and yet they're taking people's money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the point, is that there's money in it, so we got to follow the money trail. So instead of a lot of the questions,
I mean, I'm not trying to protect the Huarqueros, but I'm just trying to even the scales here. Even the Huarqueros are trying to make money. They're poor people. But then here you have the rich people that are doctors. They're trying to make money too.
Yeah, and I think that, and I kind of disagree with that. I don't think anything needs to be balanced if it's facts. Facts don't need to be balanced. That it's already out there. You know what I'm saying? So
None of us made any money off this project. It was all pro bono. I don't get paid on X. I haven't got.
I'm not trying to blame you.
No, but I'm just saying, like, when you're looking at this, if you look at, like, right now, Masson and Greer are gearing up for a presentation this month where they're selling VIP tickets to go view the
Lord.
for about $5,100. So if you want to
$5,000, they're like $5,000 for some of this stuff per person.
Down and have dinner with Jaime and Dr. Greer to talk about the Boogosphere. I mean, you have to understand, like, there's a bigger machine at work in the background, especially in ufology and the people that play around in this field. And there is a lot of money changing hands, and there's a lot of things that are moving in the background that people don't see. And the reason why hoaxes like this continue to get propped up is because it does draw attention.
Who has $5,000?
Yeah, and
No,
it's like money.
You guys got $5,000. Just donate it to us, please. God, help us so we can travel around the world and bring you more content. Jesus Christ!
But,
God, $5,000 a head.
Yeah,
how many people go to these?
Good. Not going to be asking people for $5,000 to sit down. Like, if you are actually wanting to show the world a discovery like the Boogosphere or the Nazca mummies, you're not going to put it behind a paywall, and you're certainly not going to put it behind a $5,000 ticket to come and have those conversations. You're going to want to make that information available to everyone. So the one thing that I walked
100%
from with this is that, if these were real, the DICOMs would be publicly accessible to everyone. There wouldn't
that's a good point.
I want to believe.
You would be able, it would be open to the public, and it would be open to scrutiny, and they would want as many eyes from the medical imaging community globally to be looking at these images to support their claims. But that's not happening.
Yeah, I like that. That we're
why, right? You got to ask yourself why.
I like that. We're going to end it right there. That's the perfect way to end it, because
thank you so much.
That being on our podcast actually brings okay, if you're so proud and so confident in what you say, put the DICOMs online and let the world decide. If you're so confident, don't hide the information. You're already asking people. You're already giving it to people who are asking. Forget that process. Put that information out there so everybody can see it. Because now it's your word against somebody else who has 25 years of expertise, and you can't sit there and deny that 25 years of expertise. I really appreciate you being here, Miss. That was Miss Anthrope. That's on X. You're giving us that knowledge. You're giving us the facts. You're giving us the honest opinion. You're telling us, hey, look, this is what needs to happen. Release the DICOMs. It's like saying anything else out there with the files.
Although I don't agree with you, I still believe in aliens, and I still believe in Tridactyls. But I loved you on the show. You did a fantastic job in telling us your side and everything else. And you know what?
Honored.
I mean,
and I hope to have another one, because I'm definitely gonna.
I hope you come back.
I'm gonna hit Ed up with these answers that you've talked about. I'm gonna say, hey man, look, this is what she's saying. She's saying they're real. She's just saying they're modified. And I'm gonna say, Ed, bros, you said that they're modified too. So now y'all can skip that argument and move on to another one. There's no more. I mean, some of them could have been born that way, possibly. Who knows? But right now, none of the ones that are in display show that. What we see right now is
there's a lot of people at ends with this, so they're on different sides.
I appreciate it.
I mean, these are two different. It's like the Patriots against whatever team that's out there all the time. The Dolphins against the Patriots.
I appreciate this. I want to go ahead and end it. Don't leave yet, Michelle, because I got to say a couple of things, and then we'll go from there.
I love you guys. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for watching.
Fat Jesus, Rebirth of the Word.
Miss Anthropes and Rebirth of the Word.
Miss Anthrope.
Remember, everybody, it is Rebirth of the Word.
Got a little hype now. Can I let it die down? I remember days in the trench. Time to go hard in, time to go all shit. Panamera maxed out, first class flights out Atlantic to Pacific, yeah, it's lit.
Yo, you was